the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Okay, this is a setup if ever I saw one or heard one. Let's go to Jacqueline in Long Beach. Good morning, Jacqueline. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Patrick, for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Halloween. Obviously, everybody is talking about the Halloween and celebrating.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, with Catholics celebrating it, because I know it could be celebrating, worshiping the other side and all of that. And I just kind of want to, like I said, get your thoughts on it.
Yeah. Suffice to say that it comes from the Catholic feast day of so we have All Saints' Day on November 1st and All Souls' Day on November 2nd, in which we remember to pray for, on the 2nd, the souls of the faithful departed, those who are in purgatory. All Saints is a celebration of those brothers and sisters in the body of Christ who by God's grace achieved sanctity in this life, died in the state of grace, and they're in heaven with God. So everybody in heaven with God is a saint. And we're saints too, biblically speaking. The New Testament refers to those of us in this life in the body of Christ as saints. But in a more particular sense, the Catholic Church refers to saints as those men, women, boys, and girls who are in heaven with God. And so Halloween is, as we experience it today, which is greatly changed from its original meaning, it was the celebration the night before All Saints' Day. So, but suffice to say that in these United States, the celebration of Halloween is not the Catholic, vigil of All Saints' Day. It is a secular holiday, and it is blended in with a variety of different things, so that people do different things on Halloween. Some people, for them, it's just simply trick or treat, going door to door, you dress up, and so on. For many people, there is at least a mild, if not worse, sort of association with the occult, witches, devils, ghosts, things like that. And the way Nancy and I always handled this, Jacqueline, you asked for my opinion of it, so I'll just give you my opinion for what it's worth. I grew up with Halloween. My parents, I was in a devout Catholic family, and so there was nothing in our observance of the secular holiday of Halloween that was in any way weird or ghosts or witches or anything like that. I grew up with Halloween. It's just a fun day. You dress up in a creative costume, you go door to door, you get candy. That's all. And that's how we did Halloween with our children. So if the $64,000 question that you want to ask me is, do I think it's okay to do Halloween? My answer is yes. Not only did I do it, we did this with our children, but by the time Nancy and I were parents, we did something different. My parents didn't do this because I don't think it was really even necessary to do something like that. But what we did was we would have our kids dress up with their choice of who it would be. They would pick who it would be. But we encouraged them and directed them to dress up as a saint or St. Michael the Archangel. My wife, who's an expert seamstress, she sewed a custom-made Pope outfit with the mitre and the chasuble and a staff and all that. And so that was handed down to our boys one by one over the years. So on any given Halloween, when we'd go out trick-or-treating with them, we'd have one as dressed as the Pope, another one was St. Michael the Archangel with a breastplate and big wings in the back and the plastic sword and things like that. St. Mother Teresa, Thérèse of Ávila, and various other saints. So the way we did it was to help the kids become comfortable with and understand what it means to be a Christian presence in public, witnessing to these truths about the saints, about Jesus, etc., in such a way that, as invariably would happen, the kids would ring the doorbell. Nancy and I might be standing on the sidewalk out front, but I couldn't tell you how many times the lady at the door who answered the door said, "Oh, what are you?" And my son would say, "I'm St. Michael the Archangel." Oh. And if it was a Catholic person, it'd be like, "Oh, that's great." Or "I'm the Pope," or "I'm St. Thérèse of Ávila." So what happened was the kids, in a fun way, not that it needs to be fun, but it was fun. But in a fun way, they learned how to be publicly witnessing to their Christian beliefs. And it wasn't heavy-handed, it wasn't pushy or anything like that, but it was over and over and over again. It was an opportunity for people who answered the door to come face-to-face with a pack of Catholic kids who said or did something or dressed in some way that was clearly Catholic-oriented. And it was also a good thing for the kids to have the experience every year of being public about their faith. Not a huge thing, but it's a thing. It's something for them. And over the years, many of them, over the years, well, we have 11 kids, so I guess I can say many, have said how much fun they had and how they appreciated that we were a Christian presence in the middle of all the witches and the other stuff that's going on. So we, too, never allowed our children to do anything that had any association with those things. So as far as I'm concerned, I fully endorse the view that if you want to do Halloween with your children, if you were to do it that way, there are a lot of good benefits. I do not agree with people who say, oh, no, you can't do Halloween. That's of the devil. That's of the occult. I don't agree with that because it would only be those things if you did them, if you allowed that to happen. If you don't allow that to happen and you inject or bring into the picture a light, as Jesus said, no one lights a lamp and hides it under a basket. You put it on a stand so it gives light to everyone in the house. This is a little way to shed some light on Halloween. However, even though I don't agree with people who say, oh, no, we would never do that, I do respect them. And I respect moms and dads who say, we don't do that in this house, if their reason is they want to honor Jesus, and in their own mind, they think this is the best way to do it. I'm okay with that, and I'm never going to criticize anybody who has a strict view of that. I take a different approach, and I explained why. But the fear that people can get caught up into the occult and witchcraft, I mean, that's a real possibility. So we have to be careful. Or as Jesus said, we have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Or as he also said, you are in the world, but not of the world. So when you demonstrate in a public way your faith in Jesus, and granted, trick-or-treating and Halloween costumes is a pretty minor way of doing that, but it is a way. And I think it can be helpful. So those are my thoughts in a nutshell, Jacqueline. What do you think?
Thank you so much for that. Because like I said, I've been seeing all over my social media, all of the, Catholics saying, no, don't do it. So it kind of put a little bit of fear in me. I just kind of wanted to, start that, maybe tradition or something like that. And I'm even that idea of, dressing up as saints is a really good idea.
Well, it's one way to approach it. I have found from my own experience, it's a very good thing if you tell your kids why and what, and they understand. Not all parents are comfortable with even just trick-or-treating per se, and that's what I mean. When I guess I'll just repeat myself. I don't agree with that philosophy, but I understand it, and I can respect it. If you were to say, you know what, we're not going to do that, I can respect that. It's not the way I chose, but I understand it. So,
perfect.
Seek the Lord's.
Thank you so much for those thoughts.
Oh, you're welcome. I would just say in your prayers, just seek the Lord's guidance so that whatever decision you and your husband make, it'll be focusing on what God would want. I don't think it rises to the level of, does God say yes for Halloween or no for Halloween? I don't think it rises to that level. But obviously follow your conscience. Thanks, Jacqueline. I appreciate the phone call. You can join me by listening to the Patrick Madrid Show on the Relevant Radio app, live each weekday at 8 to 11 a.m. And thanks for listening.